There's a version of you, a powerful, almost unsettlingly potent version, lying dormant right now. It's held back not by your potential, but by the comfortable, sanctioned habits you've been taught to embrace. Today, we shatter those illusions. We're not here to talk about gentle improvements or socially acceptable tweaks. We're diving headfirst into the 7 forbidden habits that unleash dangerous power in 1 week. These are the practices society subtly steers you away from, precisely because they dismantle mediocrity and forge an individual who is self-reliant, resilient, and undeniably impactful. This isn't about power over others. It's about a profound, almost primal power over yourself and your destiny. A power so transformative it might seem dangerous to the old you and to those comfortable with your previous limitations. If you're ready to stop asking for permission to be formidable and start claiming the strength that's rightfully yours, then prepare. For the next 7 days, you're going to walk a different path. First, let's understand why forbidden. These aren't illegal acts. They're forbidden by the unspoken contracts of conformity, by the cult of comfort, by the fear of standing out and taking true ownership. They are the paths less traveled because they demand more. They strip away excuses and they force a confrontation with your unvarnished self. And dangerous power. This is the power that makes you immune to manipulation, clear in your purpose, unshakable in your resolve. It's dangerous to your weaknesses, dangerous to your self-doubt, and dangerous to any external force that seeks to keep you small. Are you ready to experiment? For 1 week, commit to these 7, observe the shifts, feel the change. Habit number 1. The cultivation of radical, purposeful solitude. Why is this forbidden? We live in an era of hyperconnectivity, where solitude is often mistaken for loneliness, and silence is drowned out by a constant barrage of noise and notifications. Society implicitly tells you that to be alone is to be lacking, to be disconnected from the hive. We're encouraged to seek validation, entertainment, and even our sense of self from external sources. Purposeful solitude, the act of deliberately withdrawing not just from people but from external stimuli to engage deeply with your own mind, is forbidden because it breeds independent thought. It allows you to hear your own voice above the din of the crowd, and a person who thinks for themselves is harder to control, harder to predict. What dangerous power does it unleash? Radical solitude unleashes the power of profound self-awareness and unshakable inner clarity. When you strip away the distractions, you're left with yourself, your thoughts, your fears, your ambitions, your authentic desires. This isn't passive alone time. It's an active excavation of your inner world. In this silence, you begin to untangle the knots of conditioning, to see your motivations clearly, to understand your core values without the filter of others' opinions. This clarity is dangerous to indecision, to confusion, to living a life based on external expectations. It gives you an internal compass so strong that external storms barely register. You start making decisions from a place of deep knowing, not anxious guessing. This is the bedrock of true autonomy. Consider the story of Elias, a software developer, constantly praised for his teamwork but secretly feeling adrift, his own innovative ideas lost in the consensus-driven environment of his company. Overwhelmed by project deadlines and social obligations, He felt his creative spark dimming. He decided to implement radical solitude for 1 week. He booked a remote cabin, no internet, minimal contact. The first day was agonizing, filled with a restless urge to check his phone, to connect, to escape the booming silence. By day 3, something shifted. Stripped of distractions, his mind began to clear. Long dormant ideas surfaced. He filled notebooks with not just code, but with business strategies, with personal goals he'd forgotten he had. He confronted his fear of stepping out on his own. When he returned, he wasn't just refreshed. He was armed with a clarity so potent that within 6 months, he had pitched his own revolutionary software concept, secured funding, and begun building his own company. His colleagues found his new certainty almost intimidating, his focus unwavering. He had tapped into a power they didn't recognize because they hadn't dared to seek its source. For 1 week, dedicate at least 1 hour each day to absolute solitude. No phone, no computer, no books, no music, just you and your thoughts. This might be a silent walk in nature, sitting quietly in a room, or dedicated meditation. For an even more potent dose, dedicate a half day or full day over the weekend to this practice. During this time, don't just let your mind wander aimlessly. Actively question yourself. What do I truly want? What am I afraid of? What patterns are holding me back? What is one truth I've been avoiding? Write down any insights. The initial discomfort is a sign it's working. Push through it. The clarity that waits on the other side is the first taste of this dangerous power. Habit number 2, the deliberate embrace of acute discomfort. Why is this forbidden? Modern society is built on the pursuit of comfort and the avoidance of pain. From climate-controlled environments to instant gratification, we are conditioned to seek the path of least resistance. Anything that causes discomfort, physical, mental, emotional, is generally labeled as undesirable, something to be medicated, distracted from, or engineered out of existence. Deliberately seeking out discomfort is seen as masochistic or eccentric. It's forbidden because a person who can tolerate and even thrive in discomfort becomes incredibly resilient and difficult to deter. If pain and hardship don't break you, what leverage does the world have over you? What dangerous power does it unleash? Embracing discomfort unleashes the power of anti-fragility and an expanded capacity for achievement. When you intentionally step into situations that challenge you, that stretch your limits, you're not just enduring, you're adapting, growing stronger. Each voluntary brush with discomfort inoculates you against the inevitable, involuntary hardships of life. The fear of failure, of judgment, of pain begins to lose its grip. This power is dangerous to your limitations. It shatters the self-imposed ceilings you've lived under. You develop a mindset that sees obstacles not as stop signs, but as training grounds. This translates into an ability to take on bigger challenges, to persevere where others quit, and to recover from setbacks with astonishing speed. Think of Maya, a talented graphic designer terrified of public speaking. The mere thought of presenting her work to clients would send her into a panic. Her solution: avoidance. This limited her career growth significantly. One day, fed up with her fear, she joined a local Toastmasters club, a decision that felt like willingly walking into a torture chamber. Her first speech was a disaster. Knees shaking, voice trembling, she barely made it through. But she went back. Week after week, she faced that acute discomfort. Slowly, something remarkable happened. The fear didn't vanish entirely, but it transformed. It became a signal, an energy she could channel. She learned to breathe through it, to focus on her message. A year later, she was voluntarily seeking opportunities to present, confidently articulating her vision and winning major clients. The discomfort she once fled became the forge of her confidence. Her colleagues, who knew her previous timidity, were awestruck by her newfound, dangerous assertiveness and command. For 1 week, identify 3 things that make you uncomfortable but that you know would be beneficial for your growth. 1 physical, 1 mental, 1 social. Physical: take genuinely cold showers. Hold a difficult yoga pose for an extra minute. Do that extra set in your workout when your muscles are screaming. Mental: tackle the most difficult task on your to-do list first thing in the morning. Study a complex subject outside your comfort zone for 30 minutes. Practice deep, focused work without any distractions for a set period. Social: initiate a conversation with a stranger. Voice a well-reasoned dissenting opinion in a low-stakes group setting. Give honest, constructive feedback when it's easier to stay silent. The goal isn't to torture yourself, but to consciously step outside your comfort zone and observe your response. Notice how the anticipation is often worse than the reality, and how your capacity for discomfort expands with each attempt. This is you, actively building your armor. Habit number 3, the practice of unapologetic, radical truth-telling. Why is this forbidden? We are social creatures, and societal harmony often prioritizes politeness over raw truth. White lies, diplomatic omissions, and sugar-coating are not just common. They're often encouraged to avoid awkwardness, spare feelings, or maintain superficial peace. Radical truth-telling, starting with being brutally honest with yourself, and then extending that honesty appropriately and constructively to others, is forbidden because it disrupts these comfortable illusions. It can lead to uncomfortable confrontations, challenge established dynamics, and force people, including yourself, to face realities they'd rather ignore. A person committed to truth is a person who cannot be easily manipulated by falsehoods or swayed by insincere flattery. What dangerous power does it unleash? Radical truth-telling unleashes the power of authentic self-respect, genuine connection, and irrefutable integrity. When you stop lying to yourself about your flaws, your fears, your desires, and your complicity in your own problems, you unlock the ability to make real, meaningful change. Self-deception is a powerful sedative. Self-honesty is a potent stimulant for growth. When you extend this honesty to others, delivered with tact, not brutality for its own sake, you build relationships based on trust and reality, not pretense. People may not always like what you say, but they will respect your courage and your consistency. This power is dangerous to superficial relationships, to toxic environments built on unspoken lies, and to your own tendencies towards self-sabotage. It aligns your inner world with your outer actions, creating a formidable coherence. Consider Ben, a manager in a company where morale was plummeting. Everyone complained in whispers, but no one addressed the core issues in meetings. Unrealistic deadlines set by upper management and a blame culture. Ben, like others, towed the line, nodding along while seething internally. Inspired by a desire for genuine change, he decided to practice radical truth-telling. In the next high-level meeting, when asked for feedback, he calmly and respectfully laid out the unsustainable pressures and the impact on team performance, providing specific examples. The room went silent. His direct supervisor looked aghast. For a moment, Ben feared for his job. But then the CEO, initially taken aback, asked probing questions. Ben answered honestly, focusing on solutions, not just problems. The outcome wasn't immediate comfort, but it was a breakthrough. The forbidden truth, once spoken, opened a dialogue that eventually led to revised project timelines and a shift in company culture. Ben earned a new kind of respect, a dangerous influence rooted in courage and integrity. He had refused to participate in the collective silence. For 1 week. Self-honesty journal. Each day, write down one truth about yourself you've been avoiding. E.g., I am procrastinating on X because I fear failure. I am staying in Y situation because I fear being alone. My habit of Z is harming my health. Acknowledge it without judgment. Truthful interactions. Identify one situation each day where you would normally tell a white lie, exaggerate, or withhold your genuine but constructive opinion. Instead, choose to speak your truth thoughtfully and respectfully. This isn't a license to be cruel, it's an invitation to be authentic. Perhaps it's telling a friend you don't have the emotional bandwidth for a lengthy vent session right now, or admitting to your partner a small financial misstep you were hiding. Start small, build courage. Observe the internal resistance before speaking and the sense of liberation or clarity afterwards. Note how others respond. Some may be surprised, others relieved. This is you reclaiming your voice. Habit number 4. Strategic detachment from specific outcomes. Why is this forbidden? Our culture is hyper-focused on results, achievements, and external validation. What did you achieve? Is a far more common question than how did you strive? This relentless pressure to control and guarantee outcomes leads to immense anxiety, fear of failure, and often, ironically, poorer performance as we become paralyzed by the stakes. Strategic detachment. The practice of pouring your absolute best into the process while consciously releasing your emotional grip on a specific result is forbidden because it challenges this obsession. It suggests that your worth and effort are intrinsic, not solely defined by external wins or losses. A person who is not emotionally enslaved by outcomes is free to take bold risks, to innovate, and to persevere through setbacks without crumbling. What dangerous power does it unleash? Strategic detachment unleashes the power of relentless action, profound resilience, and enhanced creativity. When you separate your effort from the ego's need for a particular result, you liberate yourself to act with full commitment and focus, free from the crippling anxiety of, what if it doesn't work out? This doesn't mean you don't care about success. It means you understand that the only things truly within your control are your intentions, your actions, and your responses. This Stoic-inspired approach allows you to learn from every experience, whether it's labeled a success or failure by the world. It fuels persistence because your motivation isn't extinguished by a single undesired outcome. This power is dangerous to procrastination, to perfectionism that prevents action, and to the emotional roller coaster of chasing external validation. You become a relentless force of execution. Imagine Sarah, an aspiring novelist. For years, she was crippled by the fear of rejection. She'd write a few chapters, then imagine agents dismissing her work, bad reviews, and the crushing weight of failure. So she'd stop. Her dream was held hostage by her attachment to the outcome of becoming a best-selling author. Then she encountered the idea of strategic detachment. She made a conscious shift. Her goal wasn't to become a published author, but to engage fully in the process of writing the best novel she possibly could every single day. She focused on her craft, on the joy of storytelling, on the discipline of her daily word count. She still sent out manuscripts, but the rejections, while disappointing, no longer devastated her. They were data points. She kept writing, kept improving. Ironically, this detachment, this focus on process over prize, infused her writing with a new authenticity and vigor. She eventually landed an agent and a publishing deal, not because she desperately chased it, but because she cultivated the discipline and love for the work itself. The dangerous power she found was the ability to keep going, relentlessly, driven by internal commitment rather than external applause. For 1 week, identify one significant goal or task you're working on. Define your process. Clearly outline the actions and efforts you can control related to this goal. Commit to excellence in process. For this week, pour all your energy into executing these actions to the best of your ability. Focus entirely on the quality of your effort, your learning, and your engagement. Conscious release. At the beginning and end of each work session, mentally affirm, I will do my absolute best in this process. The outcome is not entirely in my control, and I release my attachment to a specific result. My focus is on the work itself. When thoughts of the outcome, positive or negative, arise and cause anxiety, gently redirect your focus back to the present action, the step in front of you. This is training your mind to find power in the doing, not just in the achieving. Habit number 5, the ritual of nocturnal stillness and digital sunset. Why is this forbidden? In our always-on culture, the lines between work, leisure, and rest are increasingly blurred. The glow of screens follows us into our bedrooms, bombarding our minds with stimulation, information, and social pressures until the moment we fall asleep. Revenge bedtime procrastination, sacrificing sleep for a few hours of perceived freedom, is rampant. A deliberate, ritualized digital sunset and the cultivation of true nocturnal stillness is forbidden because it demands discipline against the powerful allure of constant connectivity and entertainment. It forces a confrontation with an unstimulated mind, which many find unsettling. But a mind that is constantly agitated cannot access deeper levels of rest, insight, or intuitive wisdom. What dangerous power does it unleash? Nocturnal stillness and a digital sunset unleash the power of profound mental restoration, enhanced intuition, and subconscious problem solving. When you give your mind a true break from external input before sleep, you allow it to process the day's events, consolidate learning, and transition into deeper, more restorative sleep cycles. This isn't just about feeling less tired. It's about waking up with greater mental clarity, creativity, and emotional balance. In the quiet space between wakefulness and sleep, free from digital noise, your intuition often speaks loudest. Solutions to complex problems can surface. A mind cultivated in stillness is a mind that is sharper, more discerning, and more attuned to subtle insights. This power is dangerous to brain fog, to anxiety fueled by overstimulation, and to a reactive, unthinking existence. You begin to operate from a place of calm acuity. Consider David, a university student drowning in exam stress and information overload. His nights consisted of frantic last-minute cramming on his laptop, then scrolling social media to wind down, only to lie in bed with a racing mind, getting poor quality sleep. His grades were suffering, his anxiety was through the roof. He decided to try a strict digital sunset. 1 hour before his intended bedtime, all screens went off. He used this hour for light reading, a physical book, gentle stretching, and then simply sitting in quiet contemplation, focusing on his breath. The first few nights were challenging. The urge to check his phone was immense. But by the end of the week, he noticed a dramatic shift. He fell asleep more easily and woke up feeling genuinely rested, his mind clearer and less cluttered. His ability to focus during study sessions improved, and he found himself recalling information more effectively. The dangerous power he tapped into was the power of a truly recuperated mind, capable of learning and performing at its peak under pressure. For 1 week, implement a strict digital sunset, at least 60–90 minutes before you intend to sleep. All screens off, phones, tablets, computers, television. Put your phone in another room if necessary. Engage in non-stimulating activities. Read a physical book, not a thriller. Meditate light journaling. Listen to calming music. No lyrics if possible. Take a warm bath or simply sit in silence. Prepare your sleep environment. Ensure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool. The aim is to create a sanctuary of stillness, allowing your mind to naturally decelerate and prepare for deep, restorative sleep. Notice the quality of your thoughts in this quiet hour. Observe the impact on your sleep quality and your mental state the next morning. This is you reclaiming your nights for profound mental and energetic renewal. Habit number 6. The unapologetic art of saying no without over-justification. Why is this forbidden? We are conditioned from a young age to be agreeable, to be helpful, to seek approval. Saying no, especially without a long, convoluted excuse, often feels confrontational, selfish, or rude. People-pleasing is a common affliction. The unspoken societal rule is that you owe others your time and energy, and if you decline, you must provide a sufficiently compelling reason to be excused. The art of saying a firm, polite no without excessive justification is forbidden because it asserts strong boundaries and signals self-respect and prioritization. A person who can say no effectively cannot be easily overwhelmed, manipulated by guilt, or sidetracked from their own mission. What dangerous power does it unleash? Saying no without over-justification unleashes the power of reclaimed time, laser-like focus, and profound self-sovereignty. Every yes to something that doesn't align with your core priorities is a no to something that does. When you learn to decline requests, invitations, or demands that drain your energy or divert you from your goals, you create space for what truly matters. This isn't about being unhelpful or unkind. It's about being a conscious steward of your most precious resources, your time and energy. A simple, respectful no teaches others to value your boundaries. This power is dangerous to time wasters, to energy vampires, and to the tendency to overcommit and burn out. You become the master of your schedule and your commitments, directing your power where it will have the most impact. Think of Maria, a talented freelancer who was constantly overwhelmed. She took on every project offered, afraid to turn anything down for fear of missing an opportunity or disappointing a client. As a result, she was spread thin. Her work quality sometimes suffered, and she was perpetually stressed, often underpaid for her efforts. She decided to experiment with saying no. The next time a lowball offer for a rushed project came in, she took a deep breath and replied, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I'm unable to take that on at this time." No lengthy excuse. The client was surprised but simply said, "Okay, thanks for letting me know." Maria was astounded. The world didn't end. Gradually, she started declining projects that weren't a good fit, didn't pay well, or didn't excite her. Miraculously, as she created space, better opportunities started to appear, clients who valued her expertise and paid her worth. The dangerous power she discovered was that by valuing her own time, others began to value it too. She was no longer a victim of her inbox, but a director of her career. For 1 week, your mission is to say no, at least once a day, to something you would normally say yes to out of obligation, guilt, or fear of disapproval. Identify the request. This could be a social invitation you don't want to attend, an extra task at work you don't have capacity for, a request for a favor that overextends you. Practice the polite decline. Formulate a simple, clear, and respectful no. Examples: "Thank you for the invitation, but I won't be able to make it. I appreciate you thinking of me for this, but my current workload doesn't allow me to take on anything new right now. I'm not able to help with that at this time." Resist the urge to over-explain. State your no and then stop talking. You do not owe anyone a detailed dissertation on why you are declining. If pressed, you can simply reiterate, "As I said, I'm not able to." Notice the internal discomfort, the fear of their reaction. Also notice the feeling of empowerment when you successfully protect your time and energy. This is you drawing your line in the sand. Habit number 7. The discipline of deliberate information fasting. Why is this forbidden? We are drowning in an ocean of information. The 24/7 news cycle, endless social media feeds, constant notifications. It's a relentless assault on our attention. The fear of missing out, FOMO, is a powerful driver, compelling us to consume more and more, often without conscious thought. Deliberate information fasting, consciously choosing periods to abstain from non-essential information influx, is forbidden because it goes against this tide of constant consumption. It suggests that more information isn't always better, and that our mental bandwidth is a finite, precious resource. A mind uncluttered by noise is a mind capable of deep thought, original insight, and focused creation. What dangerous power does it unleash? Deliberate information fasting unleashes the power of profound focus, heightened creativity, and significant mental peace. When you intentionally curate your information diet, you reclaim your attention and protect your mental space from the trivial and the agitating. This creates room for deeper concentration on important tasks, allows your own thoughts and ideas to surface without being drowned out, and reduces the background hum of anxiety often fueled by constant negative news or social comparison. Your ability to think critically and creatively is amplified. This power is dangerous to distraction, to superficial thinking, and to the mental fatigue that comes from information overload. You cultivate an inner sanctum for original thought and purposeful action. Consider James, a writer struggling with a severe case of writer's block. His days were spent scrolling through news sites and social media, ostensibly looking for inspiration, but in reality just fragmenting his attention and fueling his anxiety about not producing. His mind felt like a noisy, cluttered attic. On a desperate whim, he decided on a 3-day total information fast. No news, no social media, no non-essential internet browsing. The first day was incredibly difficult, marked by phantom phone checks and a feeling of being disconnected. By the second day, a strange calm began to settle. By the third day, ideas, long buried under the noise, started to percolate. He felt an urge to write he hadn't experienced in months. When he returned to his manuscript, the words flowed. The dangerous power he accessed was the ability to hear his own creative voice once the cacophony of the external world was silenced. For 1 week, identify your information fasting period. Choose a specific block of time each day, e.g., the first 2 hours of your workday, or from dinner until bedtime, or specific days of the week, e.g., a no-news Sunday for your fast. Define what's off-limits. This typically includes news websites, social media feeds, non-essential email checking, and mindless internet browsing. Be specific. Replace consumption with creation or contemplation. During your fasting period, redirect your energy towards deep work, creative pursuits, reading a book, spending time in nature, meditation, or engaging in meaningful conversation. Optionally, try a longer fast. Consider a 24-hour information fast once during the week if you feel up to it. Notice how much mental space opens up. Observe your urges to consume information and your ability to resist them. Pay attention to any shifts in your focus, creativity, or overall sense of calm. This is you curating the input to purify the output of your mind. These 7 habits, practiced diligently for just 1 week, are not quick fixes for a superficial life. They are initiations into a deeper, more potent way of being. The dangerous power they unleash is the power of self-mastery, the power of resilience, the power of authenticity. It's dangerous only to the limitations that have held you captive. This week is a crucible. The discomfort, the resistance you feel, that's the evidence of change. That's the old self fighting against the emergence of someone stronger, someone more aligned, someone truly formidable. Society may not overtly champion these paths because they cultivate individuals who are less dependent, less easily swayed, and more intrinsically driven. But this is your life, your potential. Do not expect this to be easy. These are forbidden for a reason. They challenge the ingrained patterns of comfort and conformity. But the rewards are not just incremental improvements. They are fundamental shifts in your personal power, your clarity, and your capacity to shape your reality. So the challenge is laid down. For 7 days, embrace these forbidden habits. Engage with them fully. Observe the transformations, both subtle and profound. This is not about becoming dangerous to others. It's about becoming dangerously effective in your own life, dangerously committed to your own growth, dangerously resilient in the face of adversity. This is about unleashing the power that has always been within you, waiting for you to dare to claim it. Take these 7 keys, step through these 7 forbidden gates, and discover the dangerous power you were always meant to wield. Your week of transformation starts now.